I'm asking you guys, is this transparency? Do you see anything? Because we don't. European citizens' money have been given by Ursula von der Leyen to these companies. What happened with this money? What are they? Why are they open with the people and fully transparent so we all know what is going on? The difference between tyranny and democracy is very simple. When the government knows everything about you, that's tyranny. I know how it is to live in tyranny. When you know everything about your government, that's democracy. So this is where we are right now, praising this institution.
You need to defend your civilization against the onslaught of this cancer of progressivism, liberalism, and globalist brainwashing. This is a life or death situation. No messing around. The prescription is 2 doses of InfoWars taken daily. I want to go to a couple of videos here of people making statements, making speeches in front of the European Parliament. I've got 2 of them for you. The first is about Big Pharma, and it's a representative from Romania exposing the lack of transparency when it comes to the agreement between the Big Pharma companies and the governments that have agreed to buy infinite amounts of their product and force them on their populations. Let's go to clip number 1 here. Big Pharma forced the world's government to sign secret agreements. And let's hear from this Romanian member of European Parliament. Here it is.
As the article says, these contracts were disclosed to us and to the public. And I want to show you some of those pages. And you tell me if this is okay for the European citizens to be exposed to this situation where they cannot come to work. They cannot enter a store. They cannot go with their kids to schools. Where they cannot freely move from one country to another. Unless in one situation is vaccinated with one of these products. So these are the contracts that were disclosed by the Commission with the approval of the company. This is unheard of. And I will just show you the pages.
They're almost completely blacked out.
These are the pages.
For our radio listeners, they're almost entirely redacted.
They call this transparency these days.
So this is the fundamental principle, right, of democracy. I'm asking you guys, is this transparency? Do you see anything? Because we don't. European citizens' money have been given by Ursula von der Leyen to these companies. What happened with this money? What are they? Why are they open with the people and fully transparent so we all know what is going on? The difference between tyranny and democracy is very simple. When the government knows everything about you, that's tyranny. I know how it is to live in tyranny. When you know everything about your government, that's democracy. So this is where we are right now, praising this institution.
When your government knows everything about you, it's tyranny. When you know everything about your government, it is democracy. I'll play the other video on the other side because we don't quite have time for it here. But yeah, that's exactly right. So for our radio listeners, you know, hopefully you understood what was going on there. He was showing the contract that the countries had signed with Pfizer and other big pharma corporations that was released. The contract was released, you know, to encourage transparency and to show people what the governments were up to. And the entire thing is blacked out. Just big blocks of, you know, black tape essentially across the documents. You don't learn anything, right? I always wanted to make a skit where it's like, yes, the FBI has released the document, and here it is. And it's like the whole document's blacked out except for the letters F and U, right? It's like, well, that's all we can show you, F you, right? That's all we need to show you because we're the authorities and we don't care about the opinions of our subjects. And that's how we're being treated right now. Of course, we've seen the agreements. We've had on the guy who exposed them, who went in and found them, you know, like the Albanian agreement, and disclosed what exactly the contracts said. And what they said was essentially Pfizer, Moderna, and all these companies have complete immunity, cannot be prosecuted no matter what happens, no matter if their product is ineffective, no matter if the product kills more people than it saves, they're completely protected, and government's completely signed off on this. And they agreed to essentially pay whatever the pharma companies agreed. You know, depend on how rich the different company was. You got the same product, but if you're in Albania, you paid, what, $60 for it? And if you're in America, you paid $120 for it. And it was just, it completely exposed the way the pharma companies completely were gouging the governments. And then the governments agreed to force this product on their people, even if there was a better product. You know, if there was something that could help you, like ivermectin, no.
You're listening to The American Journal with your host, Harrison Smith.
You came down to this southern town last
All right, welcome back, folks. Second hour of The American Journal, going to your calls shortly. But first, I want to go to another video of another member of European Parliament in front of the European Parliament this weekend, giving another powerful speech, one that needs to be spread and heard by the masses. As once again, you know, you get these people who grew up in the Eastern Bloc, many of whom who lived at least a portion of their lives under Soviet despotism, sounding the alarm bells and saying, we are entering into total despotism, total tyranny. And, you know, the classic statement, you can vote your way into communism, you can vote your way into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out of it, right? And this is what they're warning. They're saying if we allow this level of oppression to come down, it's going to get very ugly. And, of course, they're being silenced as much as they can, which is why we need to spread their voices. Let's go now to clip number 3 here, where the lesson is that it's never the goal that makes a system oppressive. It's always the methods. Let's watch.
But it is not the goal that renders a system oppressive. It is always the methods by which the goal is pursued. Whenever a government claims to have the people's interest at heart, you need to think again. In the entire history of mankind, there has never been a political elite sincerely concerned about the well-being of regular people. What makes any of us think that it is different now? If the age of enlightenment has brought forth anything, then certainly this. Never take anything any government tells you at face value. Always question everything any government does or does not do. Always look for ulterior motives and always ask, cui bono, who benefits? Whenever a political elite pushes an agenda this hard and resorts to extortion and manipulation to get their way, you can almost always be sure your benefit is definitely not what they had at heart. As far as I'm concerned, I will not be vaccinated with anything that has not been properly vetted and tested and has shown no sound scientific evidence that the benefits outweigh the disease itself and possible long-term side effects, which, to this day, we don't know anything about. I will not be reduced to a mere guinea pig by getting vaccinated with an experimental drug. And I will most assuredly not get vaccinated because my government tells me to and promises in return I will be granted freedom. Let's be clear about one thing. No one grants me freedom, for I am a free person. So I dare the European Commission and the German government. Throw me in jail, lock me up and throw away the key for all I care. But you will never be able to coerce me into being vaccinated if I, the free citizen that I am, choose not to be vaccinated.
Really brilliant. Really just an absolutely brilliant speech, you know, and God willing, if we actually turn this thing around, I mean, that speech right there has to be on the level of, you know, give me liberty or give me death, because she lays out so clearly how unbelievably wrong everything that we're experiencing is. And really, it's that first sentence I think is the most important, where she says, it's never the goal that makes the system oppressive, it's always the methods. Because that's what you always hear. The opposite of this is what you always hear here in America, whether it's the socialists like AOC or, you know, anybody else trying to expand governmental power. it's always because of the best intentions. It's always, well, we just want equality. We just want freedom for everybody. But what are the methods they're using to reach that goal? The methods they're using are oppression. The methods they're using are to tear down the successful, tear down the free, imprison the, liberty-loving, and take their money and give it to people who don't deserve it, haven't earned it, and are just whining about not having it. The methods are always the thing that bring about oppression. The goals are always good. The goals almost uniformly always sound really, really good. Oh, freedom for everyone, safety, love, we're going to save the world. But the methods are tyranny, and that's such an important lesson. Share that video.
Well, it's now out. Alex Jones here on the morning of Friday, October 22nd, 2021, with a very important update for supporters of InfoWars. Several of our best-selling products are back in stock, limited supplies, and are 40 to 50% off, like DNA Force Plus, that is 40% off right now. And that sale is going to have to end on Monday. It helps your telomeres, it helps your very cells, engines, the mitochondria. It's got the PQQ, the CoQ10. It really is incredible. It's 40% off. Some of the best-selling products are 50% off as well. And we got a very limited supply, very limited run in, because I told the manufacturer, whatever ingredients you can get, whenever you have enough to make some, even if it's a smaller run, do it. So we got a very small run in of the product that's been sold out, and that is Brain Force Ultra. It's 25% off at InfoWarsStore.com, and it's going to end up selling out by Monday as well at current sales rates. So get great products to support the InfoWar at InfoWarsStore.com.